Let's talk about it. If that looks like a pyramid to you, good. It's a 9-level pyramid. Just like that one. You guys seen Chichen Itza? Okay, it's 9 levels. All of the Mayan pyramids are either 5 or 9 levels for a very specific reason. 16.4 billion years ago is when the Maya say this physical universe began. The Big Bang happened 16.4 billion years ago. Consciousness is evolving through these different stages. All the cycles, actually, are named for their product, what that cycle produced. This one is called the cellular cycle, because way at the very end of this cycle is when life started. You notice these numbers down here at the bottom? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, to each level of this consciousness, there is 7 periods of day and 6 periods of night. 7 days to each level of creation. Where have we heard this before?
The Bible.
As a matter of fact, each one of the days has a particular intention, as well as each one of the nights. This cycle started with the Big Bang here and went through all of these stages of consciousness. 16.4 billion years divided by 13 is 1.26 billion years to each day, and 1.26 billion years to each night. The first cellular life. That's what happened. So this is called the cellular cycle. Okay, the next cycle started 820 million years ago. This cycle is called the mammalian. The mammalian cycle, because its product was mammals. We went through the individual cell, starting to join up with other cells in cooperation for survival. Individual cells happen here, right at that line, 1.26 billion years ago. But life scientists know that 820 million years ago, individual cells started clumping together to become eventually plants early on in this cycle. And then to become crustaceans, and then to become fishes, and then to become reptiles, and then to become dinosaurs, and then to go completely extinct and leave the mammals standing 63.4 million years ago. Which just happens to be what 820 divided by 13 is. Coincidence. It's going to get a lot better. $41 million years ago, we started the next cycle. We started the family or familiar cycle. Now this is a huge step in consciousness. 40 million years ago is when monkeys showed up. The consciousness of family. Now, all the way up until this, we had a particular tool for survival. And that was the grouping. But here comes another consciousness. That is the consciousness of the individual. It is that consciousness of individual that creates a family. A closer cooperation. A closer or more involved responsibility. But a family consciousness is an interpersonal relationship. Recognized. It's a higher level of consciousness and organization. Can you see that? Actually, it started here, but it didn't really come about fully. It was developed over this 41 million years up to 3.2 million years ago. Next cycle started 2 million years ago. This was the beginning of what's called the tribal cycle. We know that Lucy, that's Australopithecus, showed up 2 million years ago. A tailless ape. Our most distant, more or less direct ancestor. Showed up 2 million years ago. These 2 million years are divided by 13, 160,000 years to each day and night. So each one of these intentions lasted for 160,000 years, then it went to another intention, and that intention carried forward. Okay, here's the next cycle started 102,000 years ago. This is called the cultural cycle. Because this 102,000 years brought about our cultures. 8,000 years. Every 8,000 years, there was a change of intention. Here, in 3115 BC, that's about 5,116 years ago, we started a new cycle called the national consciousness. These stages change every 400 years. Every 400 years, people change their minds. Planetary cycle. 1755 is when it started. AD. This was the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. And since things have changed every 20 years or so, we are still living in these 20 years. The galactic consciousness started January 5th, 1999. January 5th, 1999 was that line right there. And now, these consciousnesses are shifting every 360 days.
And they do, you can feel it.
Of course you can. The next cycle, the last cycle, the universal cycle, will start February 10th, 2011. This whole cycle will be 260 days long. The whole cycle. October 28th, 2011. That is when all of these cycles, this one and this one and this one and this one and this one, all come to some sort of an end. The same amount of changes that are changing every 360 days will be changing in every 20 days. And you got the overall idea here. There seems to be some sort of an acceleration.